The first thing is that the state of the country is in a very dire situation, and people are looking for strong, principled leadership. And we're running as an outsider. We're not of Washington, and we bring fiscal accountability and fiscal responsibility in a way that I think both Democrats and Republicans and independents find refreshing. And I think that that's really fueling the energy to take a serious look at our candidacy.
I've noticed, I follow you on Twitter, I noticed you took a shot at Heather Wilson the other day. And I thought, beyond that, I thought, well, in order to get to Heather, he's got to get through Martin Heinrich. What do you do to distinguish yourself between yourself and Mr. Heinrich?
Well, the great thing is I don't really have to make this personal or distinguish myself between personalities. The fact of the matter is Washington, D.C. has a very troubling fiscal record. We are in tough fiscal times right now. And so our approach in terms of making sure we have fiscal responsibility and that we invest in programs that invest in our future is something that whether you're Democrat or Republican, you might be subject to a certain amount of criticism. But my critique is more on the condition that Washington is in rather than a Democrat or Republican.
But if the condition in Washington is bad and the fiscal situation is bad, the Dow went down 400 points yesterday, to an independent voter or maybe someone who's a conservative Democrat, they might say, well, things in Washington aren't very good. The economy's not doing very good. We've got a Democrat in the White House. Maybe it's time for a change. Do you feel like you're going kind of fighting an uphill battle there?
No, in fact, I think what this country is craving is new leadership, and we are wonderfully positioned to have that serious conversation. The fact of the matter is that Americans want us to invest in our people and in our future. And when you don't fiscally manage and you don't politically manage Washington, D.C. appropriately, you then tend to get an out-of-control product. What we're about is making sure that there's oversight and responsibility in Washington and in Wall Street in a way we've never seen. And I think if you're a Democrat or Republican or even independent, you find that very appealing. And then we get to the real people's work, which is investing in schools, roads, in our future, and have tax reform. But until you get serious people that have a serious plan, most people are going to come to expect the same silliness out of Washington.
I know that you're not running as the Hispanic candidate, but it's been a very long time since Mexico's been represented by a Hispanic person in the Senate. Is that going to be a factor at all in this race? Do you think that people might think about that one way or the other going into November of 2012?
What I do know is that in the U.S. Senate, we're lacking the type of diverse voices that America is. And I think that whether it's being Hispanic or being a next generation leader or someone who's promoting fiscal accountability, we need that type of new voice in Washington, because right now, clearly, we don't have those diverse voices in the U.S. Senate.
Last question for you. Let's get that, it's fine. Last question for you. What about people that might say, well, Hector seems like a pretty sharp guy, but state auditor to the U.S. Senate, that's a pretty big jump. Maybe they might be a little bit leery about that, saying that maybe this is too big a jump. Maybe there should be an interim step or Congress or something like that. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, the sense of urgency in this country is very great right now. What we really need are leaders who are not of Washington. The last thing we need is another congressperson in the U.S. Senate over-legislating this country when the real problems are on the ground. We need someone who can push education reform, someone who can get the economy back on track, and someone who really can look under the hood of government. I'm one of the few officials that actually has local, state, and federal government experience because I audit every type of fund known to man or woman. And so that new kind of perspective is vastly needed when we are in a fiscal and an economic crisis.
Hector Balderas, thank you very much.
Thank you.